They started laughing the moment she stepped into the ballroom. Crystal chandeliers shimmered above a sea of silk gowns and tailored tuxedos, but all that glitter could not outshine the cruelty in their eyes. The scar on her cheek caught the light first, a thin, jagged reminder of a night she barely survived, and then the whispers began. Smirks curled. Glasses paused midair. Someone pointed. And in that instant, the daughter of the most powerful CEO in the city felt smaller than she ever had in her life. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and standing up for those who feel alone, take a moment to like this video, share it, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us who we truly are. Her name was Amelia Laurent, and she had grown up surrounded by privilege, but never protection from judgment. 2 years earlier, a devastating car accident had left her with a scar running from her temple down across her cheek. Surgeons had saved her life, but they could not erase the mark. The tabloids had called her the broken beauty. Anonymous comments online were worse. Strangers debated whether she was still worthy of magazine covers or charity galas. What hurt most wasn't the scar. It was how people looked at her afterward. Tonight's gala was meant to celebrate her father's billion-dollar merger. It was supposed to be a triumphant evening for the Laurent empire. Instead, as Amelia walked beside her father into the golden ballroom, she felt every stare pierce her skin like glass shards. She wore a simple ivory gown, elegant and understated, refusing to hide behind heavy makeup. The scar was visible. She had decided long ago she would not pretend it didn't exist. But courage does not cancel pain. Laughter erupted from a group near the Champagne Tower. A woman in a crimson dress whispered something, covering her mouth as her friends leaned closer. A man with slicked back hair exaggeratedly traced his own cheek with his finger and chuckled. Amelia's breath tightened. The room felt smaller, hotter. Her father, Victor Laurent, noticed. He was a titan in boardrooms, feared and respected in equal measure. Yet in that moment, he was simply a father who did not know how to shield his child from invisible knives. His jaw clenched, but he could not silence an entire ballroom without causing a scandal. Business alliances depended on diplomacy. Amelia forced herself to stand still. She had promised herself she would not run anymore. Then someone bumped into her shoulder, not by accident. Her wine glass tipped, spilling crimson across the front of her gown like fresh blood. Gasps rippled through the crowd, followed by laughter too loud to be accidental. The stain spread quickly. And that was when she felt it, a hand, warm and steady, resting gently over hers. It did not grab. It did not pity. It simply held. She turned to see him, a waiter in a crisp white shirt and black vest, his dark hair neatly combed, his expression calm but firm. His name tag read Daniel Reyes. He couldn't have been more than 35. His eyes did not flicker toward her scar. They stayed on her face, as though that was the most natural thing in the world. Without saying a word, he placed his other hand over the wine stain, shielding her from the spectacle. The laughter dimmed, confused by his audacity. He was just staff. Invisible. Replaceable. Yet he stood beside the CEO's daughter as though he belonged there more than anyone else. Amelia felt something she had not felt in years, safety. Daniel was a single father. He worked double shifts at the hotel to provide for his 8-year-old daughter, Sophia. Life had not been gentle with him either. His wife had passed away after a long illness, leaving him with grief and bills that never seemed to shrink. He knew what it felt like to be stared at with pity. He knew the quiet humiliation of being underestimated. So when he saw the cruelty unfolding across the ballroom, something inside him refused to stay silent. He removed his own black suit jacket and draped it over Amelia's shoulders, covering the stain. The gesture was simple, but the room fell into an uneasy hush. Victor Laurent turned, surprised, then studied the young waiter carefully. Amelia's heart pounded, but this time it wasn't from shame. It was from the realization that one person in the room saw her, not as a scar, not as a headline, but as a human being. Daniel offered his arm. For a moment, she hesitated. The whispers grew louder again, this time edged with disbelief. A waiter? Holding her hand? In front of investors and socialites? And then she remembered all the nights she had cried alone, wishing someone would look at her without flinching. She placed her hand in his. The gesture echoed louder than any speech could have. Together, they walked toward the center of the ballroom. The music faltered. Conversation stopped. Cameras turned. Victor stepped forward, not in anger, but in understanding. He saw something in Daniel's posture, not arrogance, but dignity. The kind that could not be bought. Instead of reprimanding him, Victor did something no one expected. He tapped his glass gently, commanding attention. He spoke about resilience. About how true strength is not measured by perfection, but by the courage to stand tall after being broken. He spoke about his daughter, not as a victim, not as a symbol, but as the bravest person he knew. And then, deliberately, he thanked the man who reminded the room what respect looks like. The applause began hesitantly, then grew. Some clapped out of obligation. Others out of shame. A few out of genuine admiration. Amelia felt tears sting her eyes, but they were different now. Not tears of humiliation, tears of release. In the weeks that followed, something remarkable happened. A photo from that night went viral. Not the one capturing her stained dress. Not the one zoomed in on her scar. But the one where a waiter stood beside her, holding her hand with quiet defiance. People began sharing their own stories of scars, visible and invisible. Survivors of accidents. Survivors of bullying. Single parents fighting silent battles. The narrative shifted. Victor Laurent announced a foundation dedicated to supporting trauma survivors and workplace dignity programs. And Daniel? He was offered a management position at the hotel, not as charity, but as recognition of leadership. But the most important change happened quietly. Amelia started smiling again without checking reflections first. Months later, she visited Daniel's modest apartment to meet Sophia. The little girl studied Amelia's scar for a long moment, then simply said it looked like a lightning bolt, powerful and bright. Amelia laughed harder than she had in years. Sometimes, the people who change our lives don't arrive in tailored suits or grand speeches. Sometimes they carry trays and invisible burdens of their own. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of the power of kindness. Your support keeps these stories alive. And before this story ends, I want you to comment one word below: dignity. Let's flood the comments with a reminder that every human being deserves it. Because on that glittering night beneath crystal chandeliers, when cruelty tried to define a young woman by a scar, one single father chose courage instead of silence. And in doing so, he didn't just take her hand. He gave her back her light.